Time for trouble. I am the revolution. I ascend because I'm rejected. Chosen, just like elected. Settle up, you're going to sink beneath the city's casting ink. Behold, the golden circle of gold is nothing but visions of old in a world about to fold. And I'll throw it back to Dolomite. Climb the spire. When you live in a glass cage, throwing rocks on the main stage, then you'll know about the early grave. Racing fingers, shattered screen. I see moves, sight unseen, synthetic dreams that tempt us now. Resist her glittering gold extremes, or lose all your
Greetings in the name of the Most High. Here we are again. Well, I was gone, and people started talking a lot of shit online. And I mean, and then I feel compelled to come back here and say my end of things because, a lot of people just have this whole thing wrong. I've heard tremendous negativity about, about things like political statements have to be put into context. For example, the Europe is saying the Europeans need to get shelter because embrace for immediate nuclear war. Now, we were at a DEFCON close already, and we've been skirting by, and there could always be a chance of a nuclear war. But in the context when that statement was made, it had more to do with control of the population than it did with a news item, the legitimate news item. And but then they've gone to the economy. Trump is, and this is coming off like InfoWars, that was usually positive, not Alex Jones, but other people that talk there. And they're saying that Trump has screwed up the economy with the tariffs, and it looks like he's engineering a global depression. And these were the words of Michael Yawn, one of the revered guests. And I just feel like I've got to chime in. You know what I mean? I was fine. What was I doing? I was working in the studio and working on some tracks that I'm hoping to fit into a couple of feature films. I should make some announcements, I guess, on the Crazed House. I'd like to do more integration here with Crazed House and offer you some cutting edge things. For example, I've got copies of Girl Next, the novel in English, published by an Italian publisher, but in English. And that version plus a DVD that goes along with that. I have We are eventually going to do, I think, a Blu-ray of Girl Next. And one of the reasons is because there's going to be and I can't tell you when this is going to be, but there's going to be a sequel where Lorian West is going to live in a series, like a TV series. There's a producer that wants to do that with us. And there's another one that wants to do a sequel. So they love the movie and they understand what I was doing there, because I don't think Americans really understood me or Larry. We were off on a vision, but we were true to that vision with Lorian and Girl Next. And I think the next one, she's going to live on as as property of the CIA. Okay. She's property of the CIA. She came out of MK Ultra. If you get the book Girl Next, which is free on Substack, I published it, didn't I? But this was the rough version. This was not there are typos and stuff in there, but you get the raw version. It explains more in depth the trauma-based mind control technique that was used and how much voltage is needed to shock people, because shock treatment was the traditional way of doing it. Drugs and shock treatment. I was there in LA in the 60s. Everybody was involved in the CIA at that point. And certainly I was, I guess, as a little kid being tested and then briefly put into a program of, I guess it was like a remote viewing kind of thing. And, I talked about how you get a target, you get like images, but no one would say what was on the image, no names, no context, not a news item. And some would just make no sense. And, what they wanted was to collect data, to get feedback, first of all, impressions that they made. And then, obviously what they were trying to do is destroy these targets and using little kids to do it. And that was under the auspices of a guy named Dietrich. nice German name. And that didn't last too long with me, because I was very upset child. I was very hyperactive, and I just couldn't. It just seemed like like homework, or it was like school kind of thing. It was. But anyway, that was what happens when you pass an IQ test at a higher level. They start watching you, and a lot of them were watching me all through. And they tried to put me in a few cults, and one they tried was a Jesus cult, believe it or not. I could write a whole book on that. It'd be a great piece of fiction, just from my memory. If I could just remember some of them really more, people would give all their whatever wealth they had, they would give it to them. And then they would tell you, they would give you a place to sleep. They would give you a monitor. So one of the elders, you would sleep with them. I mean, not with them in the bed, but in the same room. And then make sure you're up at 4 a.m, and they had you out tilling the fields and working, with their farms. And then they had another business of a bakery in town that the more advanced ones would work there. The entire thing was set up and run and orchestrated by the CIA. And it was Jesus. It was Jim Jones, but a different version. And yeah, the people were peaceful, but I mean, they didn't get Waco'd. But it was the same. It just repeats over and over again, the same kind of stuff. And the two psychiatrists that I knew from the CIA were actually trying to get me later in life. And this is when they fucked with me, when I was like, having all the problems and, incarcerated, mental hospital, psychiatrists, all that stuff. They were involved in all that. But then later, as I recovered, and then I was trying to fit myself back into Los Angeles, which was a joke, because I'd already seen too much and done too much and already been discredited. They don't, once out, never in, once in, never out. You know how that goes. So it wasn't working out too well for me in Los Angeles. And, but they tried to get me to intervene, and they told me that my mother was murdering my father and her lover. My mother and her lover were murdering my father, and he needs an intervention immediately. And I'm like, how do you know that? And they were right. They were using, I think, an oleander mixture of some kind, because I got poison there too. They tried to kill me by tainting a salad, and they tainted. I can't really, they put acetone in a bottle of vodka that Trish had it, and she was trying to help my mother, and there was no helping. They just wanted you dead. That was it. So he wound up dead, my father, murdered, and none was the wiser. He was 69 years old, and he died at Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles, just next to Beverly Hills. And he wanted to die because he wanted to get away from my mother and the nurses. And he told me my mother was completely evil and mean, and basically admitted that she was killing him, but at the same time he wanted to leave. Very sad. I tried to get him to live when I visited, but he didn't want to live. He wanted to die. Yeah. One day we gave him like box rescue remedy one day, and it kind of brought him out of this downward spiral for a little while. Then I was accused of giving him drugs, that I was on drugs and giving him drugs. So anyway, they got their wish. He'd be dead, and then my mother immediately married the caregiver to my father, who murdered him, and then they went off and had a honeymoon. See, that's the way you do things in high society. Okay, that basically sums up the entire society of Los Angeles. Malibu, which you see, I have it upside down and backwards because that's what it is, right? It's not really. Is it backwards? It's just upside down.
No, it's backwards.
Yeah. Well, that's my experience in Malibu when we made the film Transference. And by the way, okay, I'm gonna. All right, she's going that way. Ben's, get over there. Good boy. Okay, there he goes. He's on it. He's got something out there. It's coyotes. So these are, very strange. These are memories, I think, that you can't get over these. They're it's like almost like a TV movie of the week or soap opera. It's just it's just almost it's almost impossible to believe. And even for me, I would just keep thinking it couldn't be that bad. And then I find out something worse. But anyway, I'm wired different. Oh, hello. I'm back for part 2. So, I had to leave. I don't have any way of stitching these together, but maybe Pia can, or if not, I should just tell you that you can see there's 2 videos there, right? If you publish this, there'd be 2 videos or just one. Well, anyway, we'll work it out. But I wanted you to have the benefit of the other one. I told you that we're so we have some things, and we're going to be at the so Craig's House update, my company, and our stalwart effort at breaking the ceiling to do independent filmmaking on a global scale, which is something that no old man should take on. But anyway, things are going very well. We're going to be doing some films in Europe, in old Europe, and it's very exciting. Very exciting. What's coming up? We had a couple of false starts, and then there was a deal I backed out. I didn't want to do it. I just didn't trust it. There's another one that was like, was going to be in Malta, and still may be, but it just got delayed, and now we're ready to go. So we're going to be at Horror Hound in Cincinnati, Transference Plays on Saturday. I'm just not sure what day that is. I think it's the 12th and 13th. I mean, it's that weekend. It's not this weekend, but the next weekend. On that Saturday at 1:30 p.m. And I believe we'll be doing Larry and I and Trish, hopefully, we'll be doing a little Q&A afterwards. They see what our age is after the film's a restoration. But I think the reason that Transference is doing so well, and of course it was restored great. I think I could even do better now with some of the tools we have available would enable me to do some realistic animations that could have stitched a couple of scenes together better. There's just some things that I don't know that I need to get skills on, or know who's got the skills, even more important, to be able to realize some, a lot of times we get a film done and then you have to do pickup shots that you didn't get, shots to make it cut right, things like that, where now with the AI tools, you can create an animation that's realistic enough so that in most cases it will save you thousands and thousands of dollars to the indie producer who doesn't have the money I'll just get on my soapbox for a minute, of Jeff Bezos, who owns MGM, or the CIA or anybody else that's funding. They spent $300 million or something ridiculous on the movie Civil War, which was pure propaganda. We independent filmmakers, we don't have that kind of money. So where there's tools that will enable us to, we can't go get the crew back and just go out and do pickup shots whenever we feel like it, and even more importantly, get the actors back. So that where there are tools that will help us to do post-production and to get things done without destroying the financial outlook of the company. This helps us to compete, but still, you're talking about a monopoly, and they're very dirty people. If you're an independent filmmaker, this is to the indies out there. You guys are getting a short end of the stick when you get on IMDb. They have people there that they're faceless, they're nameless, they're bots in most cases, and they're there to keep the riffraff out. In other words, if you didn't get approved of by the system and you're putting out an independent film, they're going to mark you down. I don't care what it is. The one film I really, really liked, it was like 2.6 stars, and it had like Michael Madsen in it, and it had some name, so Danny Trejo was in it, and a couple other people that were recognizable in European cinema. Anyway, that it was, and you look at it, and it's a great movie, and it's got that kind of range. So that's what they do. So for young filmmakers, you get your first film, you're really proud of it, you put it out there, they're going to attack you, and it's not because the film has merit or doesn't. The whole point of it is to knock you down at the knees, because they're going to protect the system. You're a threat to the system if you're independent and not going through the proper channels. Okay, understand? It's that way all throughout life. The military, film business, corporate America, whatever. It's the same way. Got me? But the best filmmakers are independent. The best ideas are independent. The best thinking is free thinking. And the world needs to hear from indies. The world does not need to hear from the studio mavens or the comfortable, sort of couch potato studio lacquers that have gotten an easy run. Once they've established themselves, they can just take it easy and make one bomb after another, and IMDb will mark it up to 7 each time. So you're battling that, and so when you see an indie film that's good, you see it's getting attacked by Bezos's people. He owns IMDb too. You see, he's got to come in both. Right, he's got a conflict of interest there. But when you see him getting beaten up, but you like the film, get in there and make yourself heard and help that indie filmmaker out. They need your help. That's why we kind of network in these. I like to go to these film festivals and see what people are up to, get the pulse of what's happening, and that's the real pulse, not the Hollywood bullshit, Chinese influence, CIA pulse, but the real pulse. of what people want to tell stories about. And so anyway, we'll be there at Whorehounds, and I don't know if we'll have a booth per se, because I don't know that we're kind of lean right now, so we're not getting lots of posters made, we're not getting lots of t-shirts done. And I've got some coins from Quantum Devil. These are these bronze coins. They're very cool, and I may give those away at the event, even though it's Quantum Devil, which is another movie that we have out there in distribution now. That we are that Crazed House Distribution is. We have a distribution company now. It's still called Crazed House. I think we're going to name it something else, but we have Quantum Devil out there. We have several other titles out there for your enjoyment. And so we're going to do that, and then in the spring it looks like we'll be overseas, so we won't be here, and hopefully we'll come back with a couple of films completed under our arms, and be able to. Why Europe? Europe is a lot cheaper. Sorry, America, but Europe's a lot cheaper, and you get a lot more production value. And there's other reasons too, I'm not going to say, because it'll make me kind of put a target on my back. I don't need that right now. But so that's kind of the lineup. Transference has done really well in this indie sort of global film festival. We're not putting it in the major festivals because it's a restoration. It's not an accepted film. It's a renegade film. Okay, that was made in the 90s, and then because of circumstances beyond my control and Trisha's, we couldn't finish it. We had complications, and we wound up in the end of the whole process with an answer print, with a score we hated, with a with post-production that was less than a sound job that was less than admirable. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't what my standard. Okay, my standard is the studio standard. Some of it, the music made it seem goofy at times, and I couldn't handle that. So out goes the whole post, and then we redid it, beginning with the video. Had to be restored from an answer print. Now, an answer print is a 35 millimeter print that with all your notes that you've given the color timer and the other people at the photo lab where you're getting it developed, where all your notes have been employed. So it's like a perfect print. You don't show that print. You have your answer print. You use that that's your pristine print of the whole process. And then from that, you make other prints, not from the answer print, but you make prints from, the negative to the positive. So I had to get this copy. There's only one place in the entire USA that will take a 35 millimeter film. In this case, I believe it was Kodak stock, and take the Kodak stock and then transfer it to 4K video. And then from there, and that still includes all the scratches, all the problems with 35. It's still 35 to video. It's not, it's got a long ways to go. So then our color people, video people, are in Barcelona, and they do everything we do. They're fantastic, and they took it and just did a masterpiece job on it. It's like a brand new print. It's a brand new film. And most people, when they see it as a brand new film. They don't see it as an older film. Is that interesting? The score, I updated that. I found a song by a couple of guys named Robot Monster. You might have seen them online. Well, they have the end credit song, the end title song. And it's "Why the Fuck Am I Still Alive" is the name of the song. It's a little bit of a rap tune. And it's a total surprise and shock to the audience when they see it. But we've done well. There's been a lot of wins. Best feature. We just won one in India. I'm not sure. These are more obscure festivals, but like I said, we're not trying to get into Venice and Cannes and Berlin and Toronto and Sundance and all the rest of it, because it's I think people see it as very risky and possibly politically incorrect. I guess really politically incorrect. Okay, it's a real threat. I don't know. It's just too much for most people. But we have been in some big ones like Prague, and anyway, the Horror Hound is a big one, fairly prestigious, and so that's coming up. We won in the one in India it said on their certificate, which we published, it said out of 1,200 films we won. Out of 1,200. And so I'm like, they couldn't all be, so I guess it's pretty good. It can't be lame and beat 1,200 films. You know what I mean? It's got to be okay. So I would say, yeah, and you can look for it after this run. It'll be released through Crave's House and available. I just really look forward to making 4Ks of all these and having those preserved. I'm kind of wanting to go back to Blu-rays and vinyl for music. Anybody? Even cassette tapes. No, I'm serious. I just don't know how to do it because I'm so addicted to the digital world. And, it's caused a problem. Anyway, so that's kind of an update on where we're going. And the fact that we're now, kind of on the schedule for a European shoot. And that's the first, real announcement about that, because it's just a very can it go away? Can the deal go away? Well, sure, the deal can go away if maybe no one wants to be in it. We have yet to cast it and all that, so we got to do that. But at least we're on for 3 films in Europe, so that's and it's a great place, fantastic place to shoot, and it's worth the trip. I mean, I don't like being in the plane for 12 hours. I like to shoot in my own backyard here. This was a movie set at one time. It was just it was used for westerns, and then when the old man died, the kids got the property and they subdivided it in these little ranchitos, these little tiny houses, and they're all modest houses. I mean, I don't think there's anything bigger than like 3-bedroom, 2-bath type of house. There are no mansions allowed. There's no swimming pools allowed. They're very, very what do I say? Well, the covenants I think have expired now, but those covenants were designed to keep and preserve the land. You have to be in a kind of same architecture, which is, what is it called? Pueblo style, Santa Fe style architecture. A lot of these had to be fixed. They were like Home Depot level. We've had to fix it up over the years, and we have. But it's and behind me you see the window replacement, which they look great, don't they? Yeah. Well, they were falling. That one window, I think over here, this one was falling off its hinges during these storms, and we just couldn't, it was getting really pretty dangerous. So and of course, not everybody likes to live in the country. Anyway, so that's the update. Now let's move on to my concern, as I opened up with. And my concern was all the negativity that I'm seeing during the last week. And it's caused a big upheaval at InfoWars. You might have noticed that Owen Schroyer left, got fired, whatever. There's a big split at InfoWars.
He quit.
He quit. Okay, he quit. And Alex Jones felt betrayed, and it just got real ugly. But see, one of the reasons that there was a split going on within InfoWars going on everywhere, and it gets back, and I'm going to give you all the spiritual underpinnings of why the country is just so screwed up right now. What's so psychologically screwed up. And it's a very simple principle to understand. But first, let's go to the InfoWars, because that's big, because InfoWars is why Trump got elected. So it's sort of like, yeah, that is a big deal, in terms of the world system. I know a lot of Americans hate Alex, and they hate the whole thing, and that's fine. I'm just an observer here, but I'll say this: Owen, there's a point where he turned on Trump, and it was just after the Israel October 7th massacre, and then the Trump sidling up to Bibi Netanyahu, and and then he doubted that there would be anybody indicted or going to jail for anything, and that the country was set up to be a failure. Not only that, but a global depression, and everything bad basically. And he was getting more and more and more negative about everything, and to the point of he laughed at people like Pam Bondi. What's she going to do? Nothing. Just twiddle her thumbs for 4 years, and nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be handed over to the New World Order run by Bibi Netanyahu. That was his idea. So he, in my view, got infected by the same thing that infects a lot of people. If you don't like Trump, that's fine. Don't like him, hate him, but realize that along with the hatred, because of the fact that historically speaking, he was put there, and he was put there by supernatural forces. And I have proof on this, and I'm not going to explain the proof to you, but I have proof on it, and I have proved it many times to myself. Just like, am I deluded? Is this a fluke? And it's like, no, 34 felonies don't go away. A guy has that, he never gets to be president. There is no way that he is president. There is no logic in the world, in the universe, in the all existence that would support a Trump presidency. Nothing anywhere in the world would justify a Trump victory in the presidency. Nowhere. Nothing. The Trump derangement syndrome brought a curse. That it's the hatred. And I know that you can't separate the man from this, but there's a principle involved in the hatred. If you could just bear with me, I'm not backing up Trump. I'm just trying to say, look, count me as an objective observer for a second. There is a curse and a price to pay. That, and let me give you the scripture. And if you want me to number it for you, I'll number it. I'll just type it in here. Okay. That goes to Isaiah 14:27, and it's basically says that whatever God has ordained, no man can stop. No man can stop. And that's the thing that people are running into with Trump. He should have been stopped. He should have been stopped over and over and over again, but he wasn't. And what happened? Many of these people got cursed, and many lives got ruined based on this hatred, based on hitting this wall. There's actually some kind of vengeance involved. Hate, if you hate on that level, it will be visited upon you. Your life will go down. And to think you're being noble, you're saving democracy, that's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, okay, so, what's his name? Biden was saving democracy too. Everyone's saving democracy. Anything goes, and blah, 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 anything, just blah the mouth. It doesn't matter what you say. Okay, so, so this principle of hatred and retribution. If you hate what God has ordained, and you go through extraordinary means to slander, harm, say what you're supposed to say. Like, I don't like Trump's policies of tariffs. I don't like Trump's appearance. I don't like the fact that Trump was an elitist snob. I don't like the fact that Trump is involved in Scottish masonry, in what do they call that? Scottish Rite Freemasonry. I don't like the fact that Trump is being ordered around by Bibi Netanyahu. I don't like the fact that Trump is going to get us into World War III. I don't like the fact that Trump's getting us into instead of, nuking Russia, which he should be doing, he's getting us into a global depression. I'd much rather have a nuclear war, says Sean Penn. And on and on and on and on with this. And, you've got Hollywood CIA babies, chosen ones, vetted by Diddy, blowing their fucking diarrhea mouths all over the place with Trump derangement syndrome. And this has brought a general, it kind of brought us to the brink of civil war, but it will go all the way to death, to bloodbath. It will go beyond bloodbath. And the people that are bringing it are not noble, but evil, because they didn't check. Do you have any prophets around? Any prophet worth his salt would back up what I'm saying. I guess you don't have any. You know why? Because you're all evil in the U.S. You're deaf. You're dumb. You don't recognize that there's a whole other world going on that's affecting this one, and you don't understand the signs. You don't see. You just go by what feels good or bad, like an amoeba swimming around with a heat sensor and an ice cube. It tries to be in the middle somewhere. That's you, or that's most of America, unfortunately. So then you got the people that are rah-rah, sis, boom, bah, Trump, and dressing up in American flag sequins and all that. And, that's a whole other, issue. That may also be a problem. And anyway, Trump will never get a fair shake. So that's the end of that. It's going to go this way all the way to the mat. Anyway, you had the split down the middle in the Epstein files. You had the split when people turned on Trump. The split didn't happen until they turned on Trump. Then the split happened. It's a result of that which God ordained. Why did he ordain Trump? Because he knew it would upset people. Because people are going to do just what they're doing right now. Because people don't deserve to be saved out of this thing. But see, here's what they don't understand. You're not dealing with reality the way you knew it. Everything has changed. We're in an upheaval right now. And time has changed radically. Space is changing. People are changing. I have people that are not the same people, but they're doing the same thing to me. They're the same people, but in another body. I'm talking to them. And they got nefarious plans. And so I'm getting rid of them. There's that, all that's going on. Spiritual warfare is off the hook. The divide right now the breach cannot be healed. So I think we're all on board with that, right? However, Trump will succeed. The programs that have been implemented will gradually be seen to be beneficial, that the United States should be the wealthiest country on earth, and the golden age and all that will go forth anyway out of all this muck, out of all this hatred. And the people that are anti-Trump will eventually let all the inmates out of all the prisons. It'll go to that point to run the streets and to run law enforcement. No, you heard me. So, and yes, and Trump will come in with the military and Pete Hegseth and just level the place along with everyone in it. So it's gonna be heavy, but it's gonna be like peace. It'll be peace. It'll be peace if we dodge the nuclear war bullet. It will be peace and prosperity. There is no, and now we're going to get to the heart of it. You ready for the heart of it? Are you ready for the heart of it? Well, you've had a little bit of the heart of it out. The breach will not be healed. The hatred caused people that hate Trump to. It's the hatred that caused them to back up, criminal crime networks and the crime syndicates. But then again, they always were in bed with those. Hollywood certainly is. BlackRock certainly is. IBM is. Gates is. So that's what you have as a problem. And the thing is that the left had during the days of SDS in the Chicago 7, and they knew in some of these meetings that when they overthrow the country, they're Marxists, and they're in the process of overthrowing the country in the 60s. They're rioting and burning down, colleges and Kent State. And you remember all that stuff, right? In the 60s. Okay, so they were asked, well, how many people do you think you're going to have to round up and lock up? And they estimated at that time about 25 million people. And what if those people can't, or more, possibly more than that? But what about the people that are, can't be trained or retrained? Those are retraining camps. And then they said they'll have to be executed. And how many would those be? And then that was the 25 million number. Probably about 25 million Americans will have to be executed because their mind, it's all in mind. It's all in the mind. It's all mind. Their mind cannot be swayed. Therefore, because of the mind, they must be executed because they can't get over their capitalist tendencies. And the others are all, I guess, like Jello. They'll just, whoever's got the paycheck, I'll just do whatever they want. They're just whores. So, a country can't exist with that kind of attitude either. And, the country is soft. The people are soft. They're used to being coddled. They're used to having anything they want, whenever they want it. And this is not a recipe for a good thing. And that's the negativity that I see having been built up around. At the same time, you have God's chess move, which is Trump being ordained to succeed. So people go, how could he have another victory? They thought yesterday, he's dead. This must be a clone. No, he's not dead. And he looks like he's recovered from whatever it was. He's an old man. He's going to get sicknesses. And he's leaving eventually. And then we don't know what's going to happen, but we do know this. Americans hate each other with extreme passion. They hate each other so much that they've all cursed themselves. And that's the principle I wanted to talk about. When God ordains something, even if you hate it, remember, no man, and I promise you this is correct in all the universe, no man can stand against it. If he chose Trump and ordained Trump, whatever Trump's plans are, whatever it is, will succeed. Even if, half the country is locked up. Now we're going to get into the real fascism. Capitalism cannot coexist with communism. Now, I'm just going to tell you the hard facts. Now you make your own mind what you think about that. But one has to go away. In other words, riots about the ill founding of the United States and chanting things like no Trump, no wall, no USA at all will be completely illegal. People will be rounded up and thrown in these camps with no due process. Understand that. Please understand where you're headed. The warnings about Trump and fascism are actually based in reality. But they're based in more of an extrapolated reality, in a longer view. But essentially, the thing that they're worried about will happen. They will be arrested. They will be thrown in the brink. And if they're not arrested, the country will then fail. So it's a choice. Do you choose to back the people that want the country, that pay their taxes and go to work and get create innovations and inventions and to be the leader of the free world and computers or whatever it is that's going on? Or do you want to back the people that want to tear it down and tear down everything and cede the land to the Indians or something? I mean, which would you back? Someone that wants, people that hate the country or people who love the country? People that want to be here or people that hate it here and they complain every single day of their lives? Which one would you back? Because one of them is going to be gone. I'm just telling you the cold hard fact. This is a tough podcast. We're not going to go much longer than this point because I just want you to get your minds around this. Start thinking about this to yourselves. Like, what does that mean? The idea that either one side or the other side can exist, and one side has to be eliminated. See, because the people that want to overthrow America, they already know that. They're well aware of that they got to kill everybody. They're just waiting for the go signal. They're training already with all their ARs and machine guns and everything else. They're getting ready to go into the suburbs. As Brother Thomas, he was always talking about the violence in the suburbs to come. He was way ahead of his time with that prediction. But that's a very accurate prediction because that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to the suburbs and they're going to, loot and kill everyone they see. But there's no plan for rebuilding. They're going to wait for other people to come in, the trillionaires. Larry Fink, your wonderful friend who's now heading up the WEF, your wonderful organization. It cares a lot about you. And Fink already has ideas of 15-minute cities and rack them in, 200 square foot apartments that whole families have to live in. And just a lot of, high rises, you know what I mean? It's going to be like, what was that Australian film? District 9. Remember District 9? Okay, so, and remember Hunger Games? Do you remember the Hunger Games? Now, the people that take over and send the military everywhere and round up people, they'll be considered the fascists. Even though the government does not own the means of production. So technically they will be wrong. And it will be considered to be, in the history books, will consider it to be a police action to quell the uprising. The uprising should necessarily come from the opposite of the political party in power. If it's the Republican way of capitalism, strongest country on earth, strongest military, blah, 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 peace everywhere, golden age, all that, then you're going to have half the country that's going to be against that, and that half has to be eliminated. And the other half says themselves, if we take over and get Trump out, as soon as we do that, we got to kill half the country. All the MAGA people have to be executed. Now I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. Okay, one more time, just in case you didn't hear me. MAGA has to be executed. That means murdered. In order for any counter-revolution, or rather revolution, to succeed, the MAGA people must be killed, along with the people in the suburbs and so forth, and white people. Okay, so that's really, you really don't have a choice, because if you're in any of those categories, you're a capitalist, you have a small business, you're trying to raise a family, whatever, you're the enemy of them. If they get power, you're going to be dead. Your children will be exploited and sold into prostitution, and you and your husband will be dead. I know I'm talking to somebody because I identified a gender there. So you'll be dead. You won't be raising your children. Your farms, all your things will be confiscated. And like all your friends in the countryside, they'll all be dead too. So that's really what's happening. And they didn't show that. By the way, in the movie Civil War, they failed to show that side of it. They showed the illegal execution of a white president representing Trump by a black woman representing that we're done with racism because he called Trump a racist. That's the least of the problems. Anyway, he's not a racist. What he is a capitalist. What he is a kind of a globalist, capitalist, and he wants to build up industries and build up success, financial success, and he wants the country to do well. And he does not want to use the central government as the means of production. He doesn't want to have a Mussolini or a Spanish kind of fascist state. The real fascism comes when the state owns the production, and then it's rather like a police state, where communism is also where the state owns the means of production and all of it, and assigns people various jobs and things. The problem with that kind of government is that the innovation goes down the tubes, and that's how you get no progress in anything. And if we were communist completely, we'd still have vinyl records. Oh my God, what have we done? So I'm just here as an observer. I'm just putting it out, what I see. Yes, one side or the other must kill the other. There will be no coexistence, and both sides know this. I think the American people forget this idea. They think, well, the Democrats win, it's going to be another 4 awful years. No, if the Democrats win, if they're in the hands of the communist and the globalist, it would be the persecution and execution and elimination of MAGA. That would be the first objective. And, because of racism, which when it's really about is it's because Trump won't let the robber barons have their way. These are all people that steal. These are the real robber barons that steal countries, and they overthrow ethnic groups, and they do ethnic cleansing. That's the CIA. They're the fascists, and they don't like Trump. They're going to side with the rabble unless they clean. Well, they can't clean it up. They'd have to eliminate the agency. It's everybody that's recruited there is tainted. So there may be some white hats, but they're very well outnumbered, don't you think? You think they listen to Trump when he gives an order? He gives an order to fire somebody from a government. What was the latest one? From the Federal Reserve? And what wasn't there another one? And that woman, she refuses to leave. Like he'll fire people at HHS or different places, and they won't leave. And they say, make me. And then Trump is hogtied. If he can't make them leave, he's going to lose, and MAGA will be dead. Executed. When I say executed, think of the French Revolution. That's who you're up against. That's the people the same people that did the French Revolution are doing the American Revolution right now. Okay? So I don't like to have to jump in here and clarify, but it just seems that everyone's running amok on all kinds of silly tangents, and we're not getting down to the real nitty gritty here. You be quiet now. Be quiet down there. And the real nitty gritty is, everybody's a fascist when it comes down to ideology. If you're on the wrong side of the ideology of the state, then everyone in the state will seem like a fascist to you. And right now, Trump and everyone going into Chicago and all this other stuff, they seem like fascists. They may use Pritzker. I'm making a prediction now. They may use Pritzker to be the shot that fires off the Civil War if anyone gets shot there. If it turns into a shooting war with Pete Hegseth, let's say, that will be the beginning of the bloodbath. So that's why gold is through the roof, silver is through the roof. People are very, very concerned. And what the concern is there's no peace. If the globalists lose, they will be the malcontents. And they'll say, we're just trying for the poor people, give the poor people a chance. When they could care less, as soon as they get their mansion and their maid service and their, and their Lambo, the poor people can go eat shit. Larry Fink doesn't care one iota about you or anybody but himself. Absolute power and absolute money corrupts absolutely. You know that. He's corrupted from head to toe. And you say, well, so is Trump. Well, then you're fucked anyway. Either way, you're fucked. So enjoy this. Go see your grandchildren. You know what I mean? Make up with your estranged, ex or your son or your daughter before they die, before you all die. I was complaining that people are being negative. I'm not being negative. I'm simply saying the reason for the season of failure and miscommunication is because there is no healing of the breach. You cannot coexist with communists if you're a capitalist, and you cannot coexist with capitalists if you're a communist. One side must be killed, not housed in FEMA camps and fed 3 meals a day, and they can make license plates or whatever. No, that's not it. So
did you see that
it's the mind.
Lech Walesa is doing a tour here for
Yeah.
a couple months, trying to promote
Yeah, freedom and capitalism. I understand. Lech Walesa, the Polish guy, right?
Polish ex-president,
Yeah. Anyway, look, the
anti-communist.
now whether all this happens or not, I can just guarantee you this. I don't think we can live with each other. The only other peaceful solution that would save lives might be splitting or secession, which might happen between maybe blue and red, because red has gone, further to the right than most people like, and because they have to put down the lawlessness. So that puts them in a bad light, even though someone's got to do it. And the left has gone all the way to criminality and supporting criminals. So you can't have the criminals, the sheriff and the criminals together in the same room and everybody just having high fives and hot dogs and beer. That ain't going to happen. One side or the other has to lose. And I think the planners of all this, I think they're baffled by Trump's success. He's succeeding because against all odds, he's president. Can we just go back to that for a sec? He should not be president. He should be in jail. He should be dead. Look what Kennedy did. Hardly anything compared to Trump. And he wound up dead. He should be dead. And all the Republicans and the J.D. Vances and the MAGA people, they should be under investigation, locked up, or dead. As soon as they get rounded up and put in internment camps, they should be executed in internment camps. That's what you do to your enemy. That's what they've done in the past. Remember the guillotines in France? They had those running 24/7. They had to kill millions of people. Why? Because they sided with the king. You can't have the monarch people together with the bourgeoisie people. They don't go together. One or the other has to win, one has to lose. And there is no compromise. There's a laissez-faire compromise when people move to the middle and are moderate. And there's kind of a tense compromise that goes on. We've been living under that for 200 years. That's not the way, well, not really, because we had the Civil War and all that. But it's going to be, it's the American Revolution too. The bad guys want to overturn it and hand it. And actually, The bad guys want to turn it over to England, to the people that are running England, which is what Transylvania and the EU and NATO, which is a clown show to begin with, right? Okay, Mr. Brzezinski, let's channel Zbigniew Brzezinski. Do you see any way out of this? It's much easier to kill 1 million people now than to save 1 million people. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's much easier to kill 1 million people now than control them. So go ahead and kill them. They're in a killing mood, man. And that's what the markets are reacting to. That's what everyone's reacting to. That's, I just put it back in the center in reality. As far as what I think, I just think it's I think a lot about the disparity between humans and the hatred we have for each other. I do think about it, and I compare it to scripture and the Lord, and you know how people go around like they got this one young man that's going down to the LGBTQ parades and pride parades, and he's talking Jesus, and they all just want to kill him, you know. And they say, you know, you're pure hate. And they go, hey, well, a lot of people here have cursed me, and they said fuck you to me, and they took my camera and they've taken my microphone, and they said they're going to kill me. Is that love? Well, you brought that on yourself. And that's what they always say. There wouldn't have to be an LGBTQ organization if it weren't for these MAGA people. They're the ones who caused it because of their intolerance, their bigotry, and their hatred, and their oppression. So, you know, we deserve to live too. And that's the argument, back the other way. You see a solution? Well, I see Jesus as a solution, but ultimately, you know, the earth itself and all these misguided humans, everything is going to fall. Every knee will bow because Jesus is truth or reality in an abstract way. In other words, if I say truth, the only other word that would be commensurate with truth would be Jesus as a definitional construct. And then the word that's next to that would be reality, because real reality is truth, is it not? So that would be Jesus. So every knee will bow means everyone will eventually, at some point, on their way to death or their last twilight seconds, they will bow, because the minute you see reality, you bowed your knee. You bowed your knee. You're bowed when you see it. Your knee is bowed to reality that's killing you. It may take the last second of your life, and that pride goes right out of your stupid head. The next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, I've been wrong. It's okay. Most of us have been wrong. All right, I repent. I'm sorry. You know, I didn't see it. I just thought I was doing the righteous thing, standing up for human rights. You know, you've embellished hatred, self-hatred, guilt, shame, violence, murder. You embrace them all. And yet you say you're righteous. You don't need to be judged by God. You just, you know, you should be God yourself. You should just walk right out of here and into your and sit on your own throne. You know, I mean, you know, you're sinless. You're above all these people. Well, the concept of sin itself is an archaic, you know, it's something the colonizers like to use. You know, the patriarchs, the stupid MAGA people, you know, the dumb boomers like you, Zeph. Yep, I'm a dumb boomer, man. Dumb boomer. You know, there's one guy who was talking about hatred, and he was, you know, he goes, except for the dumb boomers, they're all racist. I'm like, dude, you present yourself as not being a hater, as being a lover. And then you say dumb boomers, they're all racist. Which side of that argument is real? You goddamn fucking hypocrite. Excuse me, I'll take the goddamn away. Sorry, Lord. You awful hypocrite. So how can you improve it? The only way we can improve it is to improve ourselves. We have to improve ourselves within. And we have to become stronger within and better discerners of the spirits, of things going on in spiritual warfare. And understand that, we're actually, let me put a positive spin on this. Things are going better than I thought they would go because of the ordination of Trump by God, because of the fact that no man can do what he did and what he's been doing. No man. Find me one man. Find me one. Oh, FDR, no way. Not even close. He's redoing the entire globe. One big fascist nightmare. Well, that's what the left is going to say. And they're going to say, as soon as we can, we are going to I thought, it was Tommy Lee, the Motley Crue drummer. Tommy Lee, the Pamela Anderson fuck toy. Tommy Lee, who said that, if we ever get in power again, we are going to destroy anyone that's MAGA. We're going to rip their lives, we're going to rip their lungs out. He's like vowing vengeance. They all feel like that. He's just spouting off what they all think. They all think the same way. They're all the same. There's no moderates anymore. If Trump goes out and, the House flips back to, we all love Kamala Harris and socialism and, what they really want is MAGA. They're willing to give up their freedom. They're willing to give up their freedom if MAGA can be rounded up. It's almost worth it to them to give up everything they have just to see MAGA executed with the electric chairs or something, or mass sort of like death camps, right? For MAGA to be put in death camps and exterminated like Adolf Hitler did with the Jews. That's what they want to see. Because MAGA did this. What did they do? Well, the MAGA people I know wanted less government, more freedom, less taxation without representation. In other words, honest taxes, not being gouged. They wanted support for their, to be, regulational support for their small businesses or their businesses. And they wanted to be able to live a life, raise kids, worship at the church, whatever, drive around on their boat on the lake because they had some extra income to get a boat on Sundays, have a picnic, whatever. I mean, that's go to the ball game, I guess, whatever people do. Not that dissimilar from what the left wants to do. They both want to have the backyard barbecue. They want to, go drink beer with their friends. They want to, have a time of enjoyment and relaxation, and right now there's too much culpability. If your nation is rooted in hatred, meaning you have established your revolution based on hating Trump, and therefore MAGA and okay, the war against MAGA is the same war that the Jacobins waged in France against the people that supported King Louis XVI. It was at the Dauphine, and and Marie Antoinette. Anybody connected with the monarchy had to be executed. It's just like MAGA. They executed the entire lot of them. They killed them all. They even killed the head of the French Revolution, Robespierre. That's a complicated case. You'd have to look deeper into that. That's not a surface topic, but it's just another ironic example of the guy that starts the French Revolution winds up being guillotined. There's some some beautiful irony in that, in a way. And but it'll be the poor people that are dying and no one gets it. And it's like, what don't you understand about private charity work? We're the biggest donor in the world, America. No, you're tainted. You need to be overthrown. No wall at all. No USA at all. Well, then if that's how you feel, you got to kill MAGA, because MAGA is for a USA that's based on the rule of law and on the rights derived from the creator, the acknowledgement of a creator that gives human rights and the pursuit of happiness, whatever it is, the American dream, having a business, growing a family, having it's kind of abstract to me though at this point, because having an older perspective, I don't really see having a family, or I kind of feel like I can just let go. Even if I was, MAGA hat, they're going to cut my head off, I'm still ready to let it go. I have no regrets. I think we've done better than we could have done. I think prayer has kept us from self-destruction. And I think that very prayer and people who pray will be successful over people that don't. That's why they keep saying, when the trans shooter killed the two kids, they go, they're in church praying, so don't pray for them. Don't pray. It doesn't work. It's like, no, the guy could have shot and killed 30 people, and it was limited. Why was that? Possibly intervention. So nobody looked at it that way. And I'm just, do I still want to go on with lies every day? I'm tired of it. I'm kind of like wanting to just do art. I just don't. I can't change people. People have just bent the way they're bent. They do politics their whole lives, and then basically realize they've been lied to. But now they're old. What are they going to do? They've already done enough damage. Please don't touch that. Uncle Joe, please don't touch that. And so, so that's the thing we're in. But the TDS is definitely a virus, a hate virus of some kind. And that has brought about, bad karma on the people that do the hatred. And they say, what's righteous? He's a racist. He must be hated. We have to get rid of him to save democracy. Getting rid of him right now, would there be no democracy? It would just be a dictatorship, just be a police state. So, yeah, but he's sending the troops in, right. But so far as I know, Washington, D.C., the crime rate is plummeted. There's still crime, there's still murders and stuff, but it's gone way, way down, and people are not having guns shoved in their face, and they're able to walk around and do stuff and go to restaurants, blah, 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 right? That's hardly a fascist, World War II Nazi-style police state. But if you want to keep saying it, guys like Mark Ruffalo and others that consider themselves to be influencers, just remember what you had to do, buddy, to get into show business. And who owns your ass before you shoot your mouth off? Turn to Jesus. It's okay if Jesus owns my ass, because he owned my ass anyway. I don't know. I hope this helped. I hope it helped. Well, anyway, so leave off with this other note about Transference. The reason I think it's doing well in the festival run around the world is because it's a kind of movie that we used to make. You know what I mean? And a lot of the stuff today is just not feeding people. They're not getting what they want out of the movies. And as flawed as Transference is, it's giving them something they want. And that's my theory about it. So I'm not going to boast about it, because I've made plenty of mistakes. So, but she's all polished up now, ready to go. And I look forward to being able to give you a DVD, or, steer you over to Tubi. Tubi, you can see Angel's Tide, and Trish, has won a few Best Actress awards with that. And it's won a couple of Best Pictures. It's really done well on the festival circuit. The festival circuit's been wonderful Also for Girl Next won 70 awards. 70. 70. And all the people saying it's a piece of shit. It's a piece of shit. How can a piece of shit win 70 awards? The American bots and the people that came after it on IMDb, they're shit. They're just pure shit. And they have no discernment and they're just shit. But the world didn't think that way. They saw the value in it and responded accordingly. And that's all I can say. You know, I'm sorry people here are so stupid. You know, I really feel like I'm making movies more for the world and not for one nation. You know, the world. And I'm not interested in making stupid movies because people are stupid here. So I got to dumb it all down to be able to communicate. I just don't. I feel like if you missed out on education or reading books on philosophy or religion or the world or theater or art or anything like that, there's nothing stopping you from filling yourself up and with more discernment. But I can't make you like something that's beyond, you know, a Marvel comic book, you know, as well done as those are. If you don't have the background, you're just going to want, you know, you're just going to want white bread, you know. Even like black movies are white bread, if you know what I mean. They're spoon feeding the audience, you know, or ethnic movies or global movies or whatever it is. It's I looked on Netflix the other night I must have looked but an hour and a half. I couldn't find one thing to watch, you know, and then I finally went to Tubi and saw a terrific movie on Tubi called, what was it called? Vigilante? What was it called? Vigilante.
That was really it. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, that was free on Tubi. And you wonder, where the hell is this movie on Netflix? This movie failed, and there it is, you know, blowing everything else away. And just you know, the filmmakers were not terribly experienced, but the story was good. It was about human trafficking, about underage girls being kidnapped and trafficked and kept in normal neighborhoods. In your neighborhood, folks, in that apartment building down the street or that 4-bedroom house, they're being kept in there or down in the basement, and they're kept among us.
And then
Yeah, interesting.
portraying the neighbors as sensing that there's something wrong.
Yeah, the neighbors,
Never
but
doing anything
the neighbors
about it.
never do anything about it. So yeah, it was really getting at the nitty gritty of, because you go, well, where are the traffickers keeping the kids? In your neighborhood, down the street, in the basement, in the extra bedroom, in the guest house outside. That's where the kids are. But don't worry, no one's going to report them. And that's America.
That inspired your song.
That made me go back and remix Vigilante. And maybe we should put that up for them. Well, Pia's going to do a video to it, I understand.
Oh, cool.
She said it's going to be really intense. And I'm like,
She's been doing some great videos.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait for that. And then she'll put it up somewhere. But yeah, it was a good piece of music. That was one that Rich Keltner did, and I've sung on it. I produced it. Pretty good song, but I decided to go ahead and take it to another level. And, you know, I used all kinds of tools, AI, this, that, the other thing. I mixed it down, mixed the stems, you know, did a whole bunch of work to get it to where it got to. You know, a lot of trial and error to get it to sounding. It's kind of it's in the realm of techno, dub, and metal. Kind of a blend between the two. And I got what I wanted. I think it's a near perfect track at this point. And so we're going to go out with it. It's real brutal. It's basically saying, you know, you pedophiles are out there, you're going to be hunted. And you know what that means. So we'll see you next time. Zeph Daniel, over and out. from Ubilam.